The transport shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere, carrying Ambassador Velrith toward the human homeworld. Inside the luxurious cabin, the Korvath diplomat examined his reflection in the polished wall. His crystalline body caught the light, sending rainbow patterns across the interior. Perfect, as always. He was here to remind these primitive creatures of their place in the grand order of things. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of Earth Station Prime, watching the shuttle approach. Her jaw was tight, her hands clasped behind her back in perfect military posture. She had been in the service for 30 years, fought in 3 border conflicts, and commanded the entire Earth Defense Fleet. Yet today she felt powerless. "He's early," said Captain Rodriguez, standing beside her. "The Council loves to keep us waiting, but they never wait for us." Sarah nodded but said nothing. She had learned long ago that complaining changed nothing. The Galactic Council had ruled over hundreds of species for 12,000 years. Humanity had joined only 150 years ago, and in that time they had learned one bitter lesson. The Council did not see them as equals. The Council chamber on Earth Station Prime was designed to impress visitors. Humans had built it with their best materials, hoping to show they deserved respect. Velrith barely glanced at it as he entered, his crystalline feet clicking on the marble floor. Behind him came 2 Korvath guards, each standing over 8 feet tall, their bodies humming with barely contained energy. President Elena Vasquez waited at the center table, flanked by her advisors. She was a woman in her 60s, with iron-gray hair and eyes that had seen too much compromise. She stood as Velrith approached, extending her hand in the human gesture of greeting. Velrith looked at her hand as if she had offered him garbage. He did not take it. "President," he said, his voice like glass chimes in a winter wind, "I will not waste time with your primitive customs. The Council has new requirements for your species." Elena slowly lowered her hand. Across the room, Sarah felt her stomach tighten. This was going to be bad. Velrith activated a holographic display. Numbers and charts filled the air, all written in the Council's standard language. Humanity currently provides 40% of its agricultural output to the Council Collective. This is insufficient. The quota is now 60%. 60%? Dr. Marcus Webb, the chief science advisor, stepped forward. He was a thin man with wild gray hair and eyes that burned with barely controlled anger. "Ambassador, our people will starve. We have 3 billion citizens on Earth alone, and 5 colony worlds to feed." "You have 3 colony worlds," Velrith corrected. "And if your species cannot feed itself on 40% of its production, perhaps you breed too quickly. That is not the Council's concern." Elena placed a hand on Marcus's shoulder, holding him back. "Ambassador, surely we can negotiate." "There is no negotiation," Velrith interrupted. "The Council has decided. You will comply." He gestured, and the hologram changed. "Additionally, your military fleet is deemed excessive for a probationary species. All vessels larger than frigate class must be decommissioned within 6 months. Sarah felt the blood drain from her face. "Those ships are for system defense. We have threats in our region of space, pirates, raiders, unexplored territories." "Then you will submit requests for Council protection," Velrith said. "For a fee, naturally. Your warships represent a potential threat to Council security. They will be dismantled." "A threat?" Sarah's voice rose despite her best efforts. "We have 12 cruisers and 3 carriers. The Council has thousands of vessels. How are we a threat?" Velrith turned his crystalline head toward her, and his eyes glowed with cold amusement. "You are not a threat, Admiral. You are barely capable of defending your own system. But the Council must maintain order, and order requires that lesser species remain in their proper place." The room fell silent. The words hung in the air like poison gas. Elena took a deep breath. "Is there anything else, Ambassador?" "One more item." Velrith's hologram shifted again, showing technical schematics. It has come to the Council's attention that human scientists are conducting research into advanced faster-than-light drives. This research is now classified as illegal. All such projects must cease immediately, and all data must be turned over to Council authorities. Marcus stepped forward again, his face red. That research is crucial to our development. Every species has the right to advance their technology. Every species has the rights the Council grants them, Velrith said, and the Council has decided that humanity's technological advancement must be managed. You will comply or face sanctions. What kind of sanctions? Elena asked quietly. The kind that leave you confined to your single system, with all trade suspended and no access to Council space lanes. Velrith smiled, an expression that looked wrong on his crystalline face. Or perhaps we simply revoke your probationary membership entirely. There are species waiting for the resources of your worlds, species that know how to follow rules. The meeting ended 30 minutes later. Velrith departed without another word, leaving the human leadership standing in shocked silence. That evening, Sarah found Marcus in his laboratory deep in the station's secure levels. He was standing in front of a massive screen filled with equations and energy diagrams. He didn't look up when she entered. "Tell me we have something," Sarah said. "Tell me we're not as helpless as they think we are." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then he pressed a button, and the screen changed. What Sarah saw made her heart skip. "We've been working on this for 80 years, Marcus said softly. "Since the day the Council first told us we were inferior Project Nightfall. It's been hidden in black sites across the solar system, funded through channels even most government officials don't know about." "What am I looking at?" Sarah whispered. "Quantum tunnel weapons. Reality anchor FTL drives that are 10 times faster than anything the Council has. And ships, Sarah. Hundreds of ships. Built in facilities beyond the Oort cloud, where no Council sensor can reach." He turned to face her, and his eyes were blazing. "They think we've been sitting here like obedient children. They have no idea what we're capable of." Sarah stared at the screens, her mind racing. "This is treason. If the Council finds out—" "The Council thinks we're livestock," Marcus said, his voice hard. "They think we're useful animals to be kept in pens, but humans don't do well in cages, Admiral. We never have." 2 weeks later, everything changed. A human colony ship called the New Horizon, carrying 50,000 civilians to establish a fourth colony world, was intercepted at the edge of Council space. The ship's captain, Maria Santos, sent a desperate transmission back to Earth before Council forces boarded. The message was brief and terrified. "They're coming aboard! They're not listening to us! They're not—" Then silence. 6 hours later, Council news feeds showed the aftermath. Captain Santos and her senior crew had been executed for illegal colonization. The 50,000 colonists had been taken to Council mining facilities as detained personnel pending investigation. The images showed humans in chains being loaded onto transport ships like cargo. On Earth, families watched in horror as their loved ones disappeared into Council custody. President Vasquez tried to file protests, but her messages went unanswered. The Council had made their point. Humanity existed at their pleasure, nothing more. Sarah stood in the command center of Earth Station Prime, watching the feeds, her hands gripping the edge of the console so hard her knuckles turned white. "Admiral," Captain Rodriguez said quietly. "Your orders?" Sarah looked at the screens, at the faces of the prisoners, at the smug expression of the Council spokesperson explaining why this was all justified and legal. Something inside her, something that had been bending for years, finally snapped. "Get me President Vasquez," she said, "and wake up Project Nightfall. It's time these crystal bastards learned what happens when you push too far." The emergency session of Earth's Leadership Council took place in a bunker 3 miles beneath Geneva. President Vasquez sat at the head of the table, her face pale but determined. Around her sat the military chiefs, scientific advisors, and representatives from every major Earth government. On the screens that lined the walls, colony governors joined via encrypted channels. "They're calling it processing," said General Liu, head of Earth's ground forces. He pulled up images on the main display. The New Horizon colonists are being worked 18-hour shifts in tritium mines on Korvax 7. No medical care, minimal food. 3 have already died from the conditions. Admiral Chen stood near the back of the room, her arms crossed. The council spokesperson said this morning that they're being re-educated about proper conduct for probationary species. They're treating our people like criminals for wanting to build a home. "It gets worse," Dr. Webb said. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. "I've intercepted council military communications. They're planning to make an example of the survivors' public trials on Nexus Prime, followed by permanent labor assignments across council space. They want to scatter our people so completely we can never get them back." Elena closed her eyes. "Have our diplomatic channels gotten any response?" "Nothing," said Ambassador Chen Yu, humanities representative to the council. "I've filed 47 formal protests. The council won't even acknowledge them yesterday. Velrith sent me a message telling me to stop wasting council time with irrelevant complaints." The room fell into bitter silence. For 5 minutes, no one spoke. Then Elena stood. "Marcus," she said quietly, "tell them about Nightfall." Dr. Webb stood and activated his tablet. The main screens changed, showing schematics and star maps. "For 80 years we've been preparing for this. The council thinks we're technological children, dependent on their hand-me-down FTL drives and energy weapons. They're wrong." He pulled up an image of a massive warship, sleek and dark, bristling with weapons that looked nothing like council designs, the Ghost Fleet. 473 warships ranging from destroyers to dreadnoughts. Hidden in construction facilities in the Oort cloud, beyond the range of any council sensors, we've been building them slowly, carefully, using resources from asteroids and dark matter collectors that officially don't exist. 400 ships? General Liu leaned forward. "How did we keep this secret?" "Compartmentalization," Marcus said. "Each facility built components without knowing what they were for. Final assembly happened in dark space. No electronic communications that could be intercepted. Old-fashioned couriers and dead drops." He smiled grimly. "We learned from human history if you want to keep a secret, you plan like your life depends on it." "What about weapons?" asked Admiral Chen. Marcus's smile widened. "We went a different direction than the council. While they were refining energy shields and plasma cannons, we developed quantum tunnel weapons that can bypass shields entirely. Reality anchor bombs that can lock a ship out of FTL space. AI-guided swarm missiles that learn and adapt in real time. And something we call physics cage generators. They locally alter fundamental constants. Imagine a bubble where the speed of light is half normal, or where molecular bonds are weakened. Any ship caught in one becomes helpless." "My God," whispered General Liu. "We've built weapons the council can't even imagine." "That's the point," Sarah said, stepping forward. "The council has fought the same way for thousands of years. They think warfare is about bigger guns and stronger shields. We've been thinking about asymmetric advantages: speed, surprise, innovation." She looked around the room. "But weapons are only part of it. We need to talk about what we're actually going to do." Elena nodded slowly. "Options? We can negotiate," Ambassador Chen Yu said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Try to find a diplomatic solution." "They executed our people and enslaved our colonists," Sarah said flatly. "They've told us repeatedly that we're beneath their notice." "There is no negotiation with someone who sees you as livestock." "Then what?" Elena asked. "War? Against an empire that spans 800 species?" "Not war," Marcus said. "Rescue. Precision strikes. We get our people back. We dismantle their ability to threaten us, and we show the galaxy that humanity will not be pushed around. They'll retaliate, General Liu said. They have thousands of ships. They have thousands of ships designed to fight enemies who think like they do, Sarah countered. They have never faced an opponent who fights the way humans fight. We don't just think outside the box. We burn the box and build something completely different. Elena walked to the window, looking out at the underground facility. Hundreds of people worked at stations below, coordinating Earth's defense, managing colony affairs, trying to hold together a species that was being slowly crushed under the Council's boot. "If we do this," she said quietly, "there's no going back. The Council will never forgive us. We'll be at war with the most powerful alliance in the galaxy." "We're already at war," Sarah said. "They just haven't admitted it yet. They've been waging war on us through laws and restrictions and contempt. The only difference is, now we'll fight back." Elena turned to face them. "Vote. All in favor of activating Operation Nightfall?" Every hand went up. Not a single person abstained. "Then God help us all," Elena said. "Admiral Chen, the fleet is yours. Bring our people home." 3 days later, humanity's patience finally shattered completely. A group of protesters had gathered on Nexus Prime, the Council's capital world. 200 humans, mostly family members of the New Horizon colonists, stood outside the Council headquarters with signs and banners. They chanted peacefully, demanding the release of their loved ones. They followed every rule, got every permit, did everything by the book. The Council security forces gave them 10 minutes to disperse. When the humans refused, citing their legal right to peaceful assembly, the security commander gave one more warning. The humans linked arms and stood their ground. The security forces opened fire. The weapons were meant to be non-lethal stun arrays, but the settings were wrong, or perhaps deliberately set too high. The first volley killed 30 people instantly. The second killed 70 more. The humans tried to run, but the security forces had blocked the exits. It was a massacre. In the end, 203 humans lay dead in the plaza outside Council headquarters. Another 97 were badly injured. The Council's official statement, released 2 hours later, called it justified suppression of illegal assembly and potential terrorism. On Earth, people watched the footage in horror, children crying for their parents. People burned beyond recognition. Bodies lying in neat rows on the plaza stones. The Council news feeds showed it all, and none of them seemed to think there was anything wrong with what had happened. That night, President Vasquez addressed the planet. Her eyes were red from crying, but her voice was steady. "They have called us inferior. They have called us probationary. They have called us livestock." She paused, and when she continued, her voice was hard as iron. "Today, they called us terrorists, and they murdered 200 innocent people whose only crime was asking for mercy. There will be no more asking. There will be no more pleading. As of this moment, Earth is withdrawing from the Galactic Council. We will take care of our own." She leaned forward, staring directly into the camera. "And to the Council members watching this, you have pushed us for 150 years. You have taken and taken and taken. Now you will learn what happens when humans push back." In orbit around Neptune, far from Earth, the Ghost Fleet received its activation codes. 473 warships that officially didn't exist powered up their reactors. For the first time, quantum drives hummed to life. Weapons systems ran final diagnostics. AI cores woke up and began coordinating with each other, forming a network that thought faster than any biological mind. Admiral Sarah Chen sat in the command chair of the dreadnought Indomitable, watching her screens as ship after ship reported ready status. This was a moment that would define humanity's future, one way or another. They would either prove they could stand on their own, or they would be crushed so completely that no trace of Earth would remain. All ships report ready, Admiral, Captain Rodriguez said from the tactical station. Sarah took a deep breath. She thought about the protesters lying dead on Nexus Prime. She thought about the colonists working in mines, treated worse than animals. She thought about Ambassador Velrith's smile when he called humanity livestock. "Signal the fleet," she said, her voice calm and clear. "Activate quantum tunnels, target coordinates, Council military installations, all primary worlds. Operation Nightfall is go. Let's show them what humanity can do." Space itself began to tear open as 400 ships prepared to cross the galaxy in an instant. The Council had no idea what was coming. They were about to learn a very hard lesson about the difference between being powerful and being truly dangerous. Humanity had been pushed too far. Now they were going to push back. The first the Council knew of humanity's response came when 40 of their military installations simply stopped responding to communications. It happened within the same 10-minute window, across 100 light-years of space. Impossible. By every law of physics, the Council understood no fleet could move that fast or coordinate that precisely. But the Ghost Fleet hadn't moved through normal space. They had torn holes in reality itself. On Nexus Prime, Commander Dracoth of the Council Defense Force was reviewing reports when his entire command center went dark. Emergency lights flickered on, bathing the room in red. Before he could demand an explanation, one of his officers shouted from her station, "Commander, unidentified vessels emerging from—" She paused, her voice confused. "Emerging from nothing, sir. They just appeared. 30 ships, destroyer class and above in high orbit." "That's impossible," Dracoth said. "Our sensors would have detected FTL signatures." "They didn't use FTL, sir. They just appeared." On the main screen, Dracoth watched as sleek, dark warships materialized out of empty space, like ghosts becoming solid. They moved with a speed and precision that sent chills down his spine. These weren't Council ships. The design was all wrong, aggressive and predatory. Then came the transmission. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Fleet," said a human woman's voice, hard and cold. "We are here for our people. Surrender the New Horizon colonists immediately, or we will take them by force." Dracoth felt a laugh bubble up in his throat. "Humans? The primitive probationary species? This is Commander Dracoth. You are in violation of 17 Council laws. Power down your vessels immediately or—" The screen went white. When it cleared, one of the Council's orbital defense platforms was gone, simply erased from existence. The other platforms were intact, but they were frozen. Their weapons weren't firing, their systems weren't responding. They just hung there in space like dead metal. "What happened to Platform 7? Dracoth demanded. "Unknown, sir. It just stopped existing. No explosion, no debris. One second it was there, the next. And the other platforms? They're caught in some kind of field. Our technicians are reporting that physics inside those fields is wrong. The speed of light has changed. Molecular bonds are weakened. Our own technology doesn't work inside those bubbles." Dracoth stared at the screen. In 40 years of military service, he had never seen anything like this. "Launch the defense fleet, all ships." 200 Council warships launched from Nexus Prime's orbital shipyards. They were beautiful vessels, built by species with 10,000 years of spacefaring experience. They moved into formation with practiced precision, energy shields glowing, plasma cannons charging. The human ships didn't even slow down. What happened next would be analyzed by military strategists for generations. The Council fleet opened fire first, sending waves of plasma and coherent energy toward the human vessels. The attacks passed right through them. Not blocked by shields, the human ships seemed to phase out of reality just as the weapons reached them, then phase back in. Then the humans fired back. The weapons weren't like anything in the Council's database. Missiles that split into thousands of smaller missiles, each one thinking independently. learning from every near-miss beams that punched through shields as if they weren't there. And strangest of all, those physics cage fields that turned Council ships into helpless floating targets. In 6 hours, the Battle of Nexus Prime was over. The Council fleet was destroyed or disabled. Not a single human ship had been lost. Admiral Chen's face appeared on every screen across Nexus Prime. "We will be extracting our colonists from Korvax 7. We will be extracting our citizens from your prisons, and we will be holding trials for everyone responsible for the massacre in your plaza. If anyone interferes, they will learn exactly what humans are capable of when you threaten our people." The Council chamber erupted into chaos. 800 species represented, and all of them were shouting at once. Ambassador Velrith stood at the center, his crystalline body vibrating with fury. "This is an act of war," he shouted. "The humans must be crushed immediately. They must be made an example." "With what?" interrupted Ambassador Thross, a massive insectoid creature from the Vryn species. "They just destroyed our best fleet in 6 hours. Our platforms couldn't touch them. Our shields don't work against their weapons." "Then we send more ships," Velrith insisted. "We have thousands, which will be destroyed the same way," Thross said quietly. "I have consulted with our war AIs. They calculate a 97% chance of defeat if we engage the humans in direct combat. Their technology is not just advanced, it's completely different from ours. They fight in ways we never imagined." "Then we negotiate," said Ambassador Kellis, a flowing water being from Aquaria. "We offer them—" "Nothing!" Velrith's voice echoed through the chamber. "We offer them nothing. The Council does not negotiate with inferior species." "Perhaps," said a cold voice from the entrance. "That is why the Council is losing." Everyone turned. Admiral Chen stood in the doorway, flanked by 2 squads of human marines in power armor. They had somehow gotten past all the security, walked right into the heart of the Council's power. "How did you—" Velrith started. "We're very good at what we do," Sarah said simply. She walked down the central aisle, her boots clicking on the marble floor. None of the Council members moved to stop her. "I'm here to deliver a message. Our colonists from the New Horizon are being extracted as we speak. Your prison facilities are being opened, and every human citizen is coming home. And anyone who gave orders for the massacre in your plaza will be standing trial on Earth." "You cannot enforce this," Velrith said. "You are 1 species against 800. Sarah stopped in front of him. Even though he towered over her, somehow she made him look small. "Actually, we're finding a lot of friends out there. Turns out a lot of species are tired of being called lesser and inferior. They're tired of paying protection fees. They're tired of living under your boot. In the past week, 19 sectors have risen up in rebellion. You're not fighting 1 species anymore, Ambassador. You're fighting everyone you've oppressed for 12,000 years. She leaned closer. "And here's the thing about humans, Velrith. We don't like bullies. Never have. So we're going to do something that might seem crazy to you. We're going to help all those species you've been pushing around. We're going to give them technology, training, support, and we're going to watch your empire crumble." Velrith's body glowed with rage. "You will be destroyed for this. The Korvath fleet alone is trapped in high orbit around your home world," Sarah interrupted. "I have a battle group there right now, 300 of your best ships, all sitting inside physics cage fields, completely helpless. I could destroy them all with 1 command. But I won't. Because unlike you, we don't murder people just to prove a point." She turned to address the entire Council. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to release every prisoner from every probationary species in your custody. You're going to open your databases so we can see exactly what you've been doing for the past 12,000 years, and you're going to stand down your military and accept that your time as the galaxy's rulers is over." "And if we refuse?" asked Thross quietly. "Then we'll dismantle your infrastructure piece by piece until you can't refuse anymore," Sarah said. "We don't want your territory. We don't want to rule you. We just want you to stop hurting people. Is that really so hard?" The silence in the chamber was absolute. Then from the back, a small ambassador from a species Sarah didn't recognize stood up. I would like to meet with the humans to discuss cooperation." Another stood, as would we. Then another, and another. Within minutes, 40 different species were asking to meet with Earth's representatives, all of them species the Council had classified as lesser tier, all of them tired of being stepped on. Velrith looked around the chamber, his crystalline face contorted with rage and fear. His empire was cracking, and he could feel it. "This is not over," he said to Sarah. "The Korvath do not surrender. We do not bow to primitives." "Then I guess you'll learn," Sarah said quietly. She turned and walked back toward the exit, her marines falling in around her. At the doorway, she paused and looked back. "Oh, and Velrith? You're wanted for crimes against sapient life execution of unarmed civilians, illegal detention, slavery. When we're done cleaning up your mess, we're coming for you. You can surrender peacefully, or we can do this the hard way. Your choice." She left the council chamber in stunned silence. On Earth, in the command center beneath Geneva, President Vasquez watched the transmission with Dr. Webb and General Liu. When it ended, she sat back in her chair looking exhausted. "We did it," Marcus said. "We actually did it." "We started it," Elena corrected. "Now comes the hard part. We've broken the Council's power. But what do we build in its place?" "Something better," Sarah's voice came through the speakers. She was still on Nexus Prime, but her transmission was clear. "Something fair. Something where no species gets called inferior or probationary or livestock. We show them that being powerful doesn't mean being cruel." "Can we do that?" General Liu asked. "Can we really change a galaxy?" Elena looked at the screens showing celebrations across human colonies, showing freed prisoners crying with joy, showing species rising up against their oppressors all across Council space. "We're humans," she said. "We've done impossible things before. One more won't kill us." Outside, the stars shone brighter than they had in 150 years. Humanity had gone to war, and the galaxy would never be the same. The war lasted 3 months, but it felt like 3 years. Across the galaxy, the Council's iron grip shattered into pieces. Species that had been silent for centuries suddenly found their voices. Rebellions erupted on 600 worlds. Trade routes collapsed. Ancient alliances broke apart. The great empire that had ruled for 12,000 years was tearing itself apart from the inside. And at the center of it all, humanity moved like a surgical knife. Admiral Chen's fleet didn't fight like the Council expected. They didn't try to hold territory or conquer worlds. Instead, they hit military infrastructure, shipyards, weapons factories, communication hubs. They moved fast, struck hard, and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. Every battle was won before the enemy understood what was happening. But Sarah Chen wasn't sleeping well. Each night, she stood in her quarters aboard the Indomitable, staring at casualty reports, not human casualties. Those were surprisingly light. No, she looked at the Council casualties, the ships destroyed, the soldiers killed, the civilians caught in crossfire when rebellions turned violent. "Penny for your thoughts?" Dr. Webb's voice came from the doorway. He had come aboard 2 weeks ago, coordinating the technology transfers to newly freed species. "I'm thinking about power," Sarah said quietly, "and what it does to people. We started this because the Council abused their power. But now we have that power, Marcus. We're deciding which species get freedom and which wait. We're deciding who lives and who dies. When does that make us different from them?" Marcus walked over to stand beside her. "The Council used power to elevate themselves. We're using it to elevate others. That's the difference." "Is it?" Sarah pulled up a report on her tablet. Look at this. Sector 47. We destroyed a council supply depot there. Clean strike, no civilian casualties. But 3 days later, 2 species in that sector went to war with each other, old territorial disputes. Without the council keeping them apart, they just started killing each other. 50,000 dead so far. That's not your fault, isn't it? We broke the system. We didn't think about what would happen after. She turned to face him. The council was cruel and unfair, but it kept order. Now we've created chaos. How many people are going to die in that chaos? Before Marcus could answer, alarms started blaring. Captain Rodriguez's voice came over the speakers. Admiral to the bridge, we have a situation. The bridge was organized chaos when Sarah arrived. Officers shouted reports, screens flashed with tactical data, and in the center of the main display was Ambassador Velrith's face. Demands to speak with you directly, Rodriguez was saying. He claims to have information about a council counterstrike. Put him through, Sarah ordered. Velrith's crystalline face appeared, but he looked different. Smaller, somehow. Diminished. Admiral Chen, I am transmitting from a secure location. I have a proposition for you. I'm listening. The Council High Command has authorized a final solution, Velrith said, his voice tight. They are preparing to deploy biological weapons against human colonies, diseases engineered specifically to target human DNA. They believe that if they cannot defeat you militarily, they will simply erase you. Sarah felt ice in her veins. Why are you telling me this? Because I was overruled, Velrith said, and for the first time Sarah heard something like emotion in his voice. I argued that humanity could still be controlled, that genocide was unnecessary. They removed me from the council. They plan to use the weapons in 72 hours. Where? I will give you the coordinates and access codes to the weapons facilities. In exchange, I ask for asylum. I will stand trial for my crimes, but I will not die for the crimes of others. Sarah looked at Rodriguez, who nodded slightly. The tactical team had already traced the transmission. It was legitimate. Send the data, Sarah said. And Velrith, you're going to help us stop this. Then you're going to help us fix the mess we've all made. The next 48 hours were the most intense of Sarah's life. The Ghost Fleet split into 12 strike groups, each targeting a different weapons facility. The Council had hidden them well, deep in asteroid fields and dark matter clouds. But with Velrith's codes, the human ships found them all. The strike on the primary facility fell to Sarah personally. She led a marine assault team down to a laboratory complex hidden inside a dead moon. What they found there made her sick.